Hi, welcome to Take 5, where we daily consider devotional thoughts from Oswald Chambers' book, My Utmost for His Highest. Today is October 22nd, and the title of today's devotional is The Witness of the Spirit. The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit, Romans 8, verse 16. You have likely heard or known of people saying, God, if you will do this for me, then I will turn my life around, or something to that effect. In essence, they are trying to strike a deal with God. Dr. Chambers says we are in danger of getting into a bargaining spirit with God when we come to Him. We want the witness of the Spirit before we have done what God tells us to do. Dissect what Chambers here says. When we come to God, when a person is in need of God, that person can be in danger of seeking to manipulate God. If you, God, do this for me, then I will do that for you. This behavior is saying that before we have done what God has said for us to do, we want to have His blessings. It's putting the cart before the horse. People want the blessings of redemption prior to having given their lives to Christ. A car won't run without gasoline in the tank. There is a particular order involved in order to receive the abundant life that Christ promises to His believers. Mainly, you must first believe and be yielded to God. Chambers asks, why doesn't God reveal Himself to you? He cannot. It is not that He will not, but He cannot, because you are in the way as long as you won't abandon yourself to Him in total surrender. Until you give over possession of yourself to God, He cannot bless you as a Christian, for you are not one. Yet once you do surrender, says Dr. C., immediately God witnesses to Himself. He cannot witness to you, but He instantly witnesses to His own nature in you. The Spirit of God must first be in us as a receiver of sorts for us to be able to hear His Spirit transmit or speak to us. That is what Chambers is saying in that God witnesses to His own nature in us. Of our own, we are a faulty receiver. The unredeemed are unable to hear and know God. We must be possessed by the Spirit of God to hear Him speak to us. The unsaved cannot hear from God until they are saved. It's like trying to fill a jar while the lid is still on it. Everything simply pours out around it. Chambers says if you've received the witness of the Spirit before the reality and truth that comes from obedience, it would simply result in sentimental emotion. But when you act on the basis of redemption and stop the disrespectfulness of debating with God, He immediately gives His witness. The first words that the lost must hear from God must convict them of their lostness and need for salvation. When one stops debating with God and quits disrespecting the call of God, once you give in to His voice, it is then that we begin to grasp the truth of His Spirit. Chambers says that as soon as you abandon your own reasoning and arguing, God witnesses to what He has done, and you are amazed at your total disrespect in having kept Him waiting. Recognize the fact that the lost cannot understand God and His righteousness until they have yielded themselves to Him. Don't be surprised at the inability of the unsaved to see that which can only be understood by God's indwelling Spirit. Dr. C. makes the point, if you are debating as to whether or not God can deliver you from sin, then either let Him do it or tell Him that He cannot. Do not quote this or that person to Him. Simply obey Matthew 11, verse 28. Come to me, all who are labor and who are heavy laden. Come if you are weary, and ask if you know you are evil. Chambers is saying that you are either going to believe God or you won't. But a lost person can't be saved until they surrender, give up spiritual rights to themselves. No one can be both saved and lost. As Dr. C. reveals, the Spirit of God witnesses to the redemption of our Lord and to nothing else. He cannot witness to our reason, for the reasoning of man attempts to make the wisdom of God seem silly and illogical. To those believing their decision-making skills can be acceptable to God, though not lived under His lordship, O.C. says if we are trying to make Him witness to our reason, It is no wonder that we are in darkness and uncertainty. Throw it all overboard, trust in Him, and He will give you the witness of the Spirit. Life changes perspective once we give over to God's control. Thanks for being here, and now may God's grace and peace be ours as we seek to live our utmost for His highest. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.